Hello and welcome, everyone. We've got a fabulous group here today from half a dozen different countries, so this is super exciting. Really looking forward to the expertise that you're going to gain from Tommi today. I'm going to share a story that Tommi may or may not tell you. We met at one of the International Coach Federation conferences, and I'll tell you what made Tommi stand out. She was dressed up like an astronaut. So she had this fabulous display, and it was just awesome. So had a conversation, really excited about what she has to offer for all of you today. So I'm going to share a little bit of information on Tommi. She is the CEO of Top 6 Business Coach, which is a company dedicated to supporting entrepreneurs. So all of us coaches, she has a network of business coaches in 3 different countries, and all of her business coaches specialize in helping solopreneurs. So this is about you creating your own abundant, lucrative, and meaningful business. Top 6 Business Coach is known for proven methodologies, entrepreneurial mastermind programs, and no-BS coaching methods, and getting real results. So Tommi is going to take full advantage of her entrepreneurial privileges and is home whenever she feels like it, which is for her either Colorado or California. So Tommi, thank you so much for being here today. We're super excited about what you have. Everyone, as Tommi goes through her presentation, if you want to enter additional questions in the question panel, feel free. We will, those of you who are brave enough, if you want to raise your hand, we can unmute you individually, and that way you can ask your question live. We'll have times for doing that, so make sure you jot it down. You did receive a handout ahead of time. It is also available in your control panel if you want to access it there. And I already know some of you are asking, are you going to have access to this again afterwards? And the answer is yes. We will put this recording on the YouTube channel so that you can come back and see it again. So thank you, everybody, and thank you, Tommi, and please take over.
Well, thank you so much, Kathy. I clean forgot that we met with me in an astronaut suit, so that's probably going to be a fairly unforgettable image. And what people might enjoy knowing is that I actually made my boyfriend dress up in one as well. Yes. And he promised that it was truth, that he loved me deeply, and he was very worried anybody he knew would ever catch him in it. So, but anyway, so I'm delighted to be here and have a group of amazing coaches to speak to, because I have a huge passion for coaches. I'm a certified coach myself, and I just have a heart for really helping coaches build amazing businesses. So today we're really talking about the 3 huge mistakes that coaches make that leave them struggling to find enough high-end clients. And, you know, I think everybody here has been through Kathy's amazing coaching school. So I think you all have that in common. And the other thing you all have in common is that every one of you decided to become an entrepreneur, which is quite a leap. You know, everybody I've spoken to who decides to become an entrepreneur, there's almost always a story there. They've done, you know, something's happened in their life. There's some event has really propelled them into becoming a coach. So the other thing that I know about you is every coach I've ever met has a heart this big. You know, we're really here on the planet to help people and so on. And unfortunately for most coaches, and maybe this goes along with being a big-hearted, the business building skills, especially the sales and the marketing, can be tough. You know, my experience has been about 85% of coaches roughly aren't crazy about the selling side of it. They'd much rather just have a whole book full of clients that they could serve and deeply help. So if that's resonating with you, please know you're not alone. That's what I found with most of the coaches I've spoken to. So I'm going to start off with a couple of sobering thoughts, and I don't want to be Debbie Downer here, but by the same token, I think anybody who becomes an entrepreneur needs to just, you know, get real about the fact that the statistics for entrepreneurship are not amazing. You know, and this has nothing to do with the coaching school you went to. It has nothing to do with the industry you've chosen. It has everything to do with being an entrepreneur. So these are the statistics in the United States. They're drawn by a company called Statistic Brain, but I think they map pretty well to wherever you are on the globe. but there's a very high failure rate. Certainly by year 3, 44% of most businesses have failed. And by year 4, if we're in the services, if you have a look at this, the services-based businesses, only 55% of them are actually still running. So I think it's prudent to know that when you start any new business, you don't want to be one of these statistics, okay? And the statistics actually get a little bit worse than this, because have a look at this. Yep, the U.S. Labor Bureau says 50% fail in the first 5 years. This is the one that actually worries me a little bit more, and this one comes from the Ewing Marion Kauffman Foundation of Entrepreneurship. But 90% of the U.S. entrepreneurs don't break 100,000 of revenue. And I apologize for this U.S.-based statistic, but I assure you, wherever you are in the world, it will map. And $100,000 of revenue is not luxury living in the United States. It's comfy living, but it's not amazing. You know, you can certainly get by. Our bread line somewhere around the 50,000 mark. But what it tells you is that if, and the only reason I'm sharing these horrible stats, and let me keep going here, 85% of the entrepreneurs that I've worked with in my many years as a business coach have exactly the same problem. And if we can fix that problem, they go shooting into 6 figures. This is the thing that keeps them from getting into 6 figures. And it's what I'm going to be talking about today. So you're in a really good place. This is going to be an amazing hour of your time, and I'm going to pack in as much as I possibly can as we go today and really make this as high value as I can. And the good news is that if we fix this problem, look, watch this. Once you pass the 6 figures, 4% of that 10 are actually going to go into 7 figures. So if we can fix this problem, you've got at least a 50% chance of taking your business really big. So this is a problem worth fixing. So that's the good news, really. And you might wonder what the heck, so I don't want to spend too much of today talking about me, but let me just tell you, my birth into entrepreneurship also came from a story. I lost my husband when I was a young woman. I was 30, and it happened 11 weeks after my husband was born, and I didn't know what the heck to do, so I started a company so that I could work from home around my kid. So, you know, my birthing into entrepreneurship was traumatic, to say the least, and it turns out I was an abominable entrepreneur. I'm not a natural at all. I had to learn everything, and I'm not sure that I learned it particularly fast, but I have learned it. I've run 2 successful IT companies, one in South Africa and one in this country. And my final rebirth, as I'm older now, was really just to be able to give back to the planet. And I've been a business coach since 2010, so that was when I went to coaching school. And in the last 2 years, we've taken the same method I've successfully used with a whole bunch of solopreneurs to get their businesses successful. We've licensed it, and I now have a network of 26 coaches in 3 countries that use my methods to help entrepreneurs build their businesses. So I say that only so that you know what's possible for somebody who doesn't know a lot about entrepreneurship, and also that you know that you're in good hands, because I've seen pretty much everything there is to see with entrepreneurs, and I'm so grateful for having been a coach, quite honestly. You know, this is me on stage, and if you told me years ago that we'd have hundreds of people in a room listening to my advice on business, I would have laughed at you, honestly. I would never have believed it, but it's enormously satisfying for me. I have a team that keeps me sane and makes me look good, so I have the freedom to go and do what I need to do. I've been able to put my beautiful daughter into Middlebury College in Vermont and raise her in a good way. So the business has been kind to me. And the team allows me to go and have vacations in gorgeous places. This is in the Cayman Islands. So I feel like the business has given me a great deal, and I want that for every coach out there. So here's what I'm going to give you today. We're going to talk about the #1 thing you must get right to attract clients easily. And coaches are notoriously bad at this, worse than the other entrepreneurs I've worked with. So I'm happy to share it with you. I'm going to show you how to call your future clients to you easily so that they're ready to actually invest in you. And we're going to work through the 5 hottest marketing magnets template. I know Kathy sent this out beforehand. Hopefully you've got it printed and ready to fill out. It will probably look something like, let me show you what it looks like, except yours is blank, mine's filled in. If you haven't done it yet, Kathy has loaded it as a handout, so you could download it. But at this point, if you don't have it, I'm going to ask you, please don't fiddle with it. Just grab a piece of paper and let me have your attention, because you'll get more out of the presentation that way. I'll just walk you through it, and a piece of paper is going to be just fine. So we'll fill that out as we go, and what you're going to have at the end of it is some really good messaging so that you know what to say when you're out networking and trying to get clients. You'll be able to say something good. And by the way, guys, if you're struggling to fill this out, which could happen, it just tells me that your niche is not very well tightened up yet. So I'll talk more about that as we go. And then I'm going to give you, before we go today, I'm going to have a look at the entire contact to client process. And I've got some juicy things to offer you there. And right at the end, I'm actually going to share another 2 juicy little bits of information. The $1 million niche question, which I think every coach needs to know. I teach this to every entrepreneur, but we have a $1 million niche question and an energetic shift that will really change your client attractiveness. And for those of you who want to go deeper with me, I'm going to show you how you can do that as well. So that's what we've got coming up. And I feel like I'm going to pack as much as I can possibly into the hour. So without further ado, let's get going. So let's start off with the number 1 thing that you absolutely have to do if you want to attract clients. And without this, nothing else works. Is there anybody who would like to take a guess at this? Kathy, I don't know if you see any hands going up or you want to open up any lines, but if anybody wants to take a guess.
I am watching. I don't have any hands up yet. And
come on,
I've got one person typing in. One said marketing, and then somebody else said marketing well. So that was interesting.
Well, I like both of those. I like both of those. So but let me tell you what I'm actually talking about here, because it's probably not obvious to many people. But it's, you know, it's interesting when you've coached thousands and thousands of entrepreneurs, the patterns start emerging. So you see the same thing again and again, that it is actually obvious to me. But here's the first thing. You actually have to have clarity. You have to have clarity about a couple of really important things, and I'll go through what those things are. But the clearer you are about your business, clarity actually equals cash. When you know exactly what you're trying to do, when you know who you're trying to attract, when you know what you're trying to sell, when you know what the transformation is that you're trying to do in the world, it becomes super clear. And while we're talking about transformation, can you see that this picture actually shows you a transformation? I mean, when I look at this, I've often asked people on a call, what do you see when you look at this picture? And I've heard some pretty bizarre things. But what I see when I look at this is I see a fish that had a really boring glass bowl. He saw that the grass was green, or the bowl was green on the other side, and he decided to make a big jump. Now that's a big jump for a fish, okay, but he was quite clear that it was better where he was going than where he was coming from. And if you have a look at the picture here, there was something he desired that was worth making the jump. But when I talk about a transformation, every coach provides a transformation for their client. You know, the client is in some place before, and, you know, metaphorically we're talking about they're in a place of being in a glass bowl that isn't quite right, and there's something they want that they're prepared to make a big jump for. And the clearer you are about the transition that or the transformation that you're going to provide your clients, the easier it's going to be for them to know that they need to work with you. So generally, clarity comes in a very concrete way from just 3 things that you need to know. So this is the good part. Okay, you don't need to be clear about 100 gazillion things. You need to be clear about 3 things. So here are the 3 things, and if this is new to you, then you definitely want to write this down. But powerful client attraction really is getting huge clarity on just 3 things. And these 3 things together make up what I would call your niche. And I know a lot of coaches have a lot of angst with their niche, okay? And it's normal because it's forcing you to let things go, okay? So most of the coaches that I meet, especially in the early days before they're making money, they're like, oh, I don't really want to, I think I want to do this, and I really don't want to narrow it down too much because I don't want to chase anybody away. And I totally get that, because in the early days of the business, when anybody's starting a business, here's what they all have in common. They're cash-strapped, and they're not very confident because they haven't done it before. So the very process of niching down seems so counterintuitive, because you want everybody to be able to come and do business with you. But the problem with that is it's so vague that everybody doesn't know what business you do, so they're not actually seeing the transformation that you do. And this happened to me, by the way, guys. You know, when I became a coach, I had a big corporate background and I had an entrepreneurial background, and I was trying to coach both. I was trying to coach corporate gals like myself, and I was trying to coach one-man businesses. Actually, I don't even think I'd specified one-man businesses yet. I think I was trying to do all entrepreneurs. And the thing is, the two groups have such different problems that I struggled with this for about 8 months. I landed some clients, but, like maybe 1 or 2 a month or something. I wasn't going to get wealthy on that. And the day I decided to let go of my corporate niche and just choose one, I ended up having my first $10,000 month, and my business was absolutely jam-packed with clients. Couldn't fit another one in if I tried within a 6-week period. And I've seen that over and over again. And the difference is when I told people what I did, they got it. They understood. So I could say I work with entrepreneurs. So the entrepreneurs in the audience could say, that's me. And I could talk about problems that they resonated with and thought, yeah, this girl gets me, she's bright, and I could talk about what amazing the results they want. And I can tell you, entrepreneurs generally want sales, clients, and money. Corporate gals don't. They usually want peace and a life and, time to reconnect with their kids and a job that they're passionate about. They're two totally different sets of problems and results. So that's what goes wrong with so many niche descriptions. And remember, I said that this is the one thing that most entrepreneurs do wrong. 85% of entrepreneurs mess up at the niche phase. And if you just get your niche tight, the good news is that this usually pushes you into 6 figures all by itself. People that are struggling with their niche are usually making, in the United States, probably less than 50K a year. And this is the one thing we do to really leverage it, is just get clear on who is it you serve. What are the awful problems that they have that they're willing to pay somebody to get fixed? And then what's the amazing result or the transformation that they will experience after they've worked with you? So those 3 components are by far the most important things that you will have to do in order to get from 0 to 100,000. Okay. So let's have a start with looking at the who. Okay. I always feel like the Grinch here in Whoville or something. but who is component number 1. And if you're struggling with a niche, by the way, guys, you probably want to start with a who. I've seen some niches get resolved in terms of starting with a problem, but starting with a who is usually the best thing to do. And the other thing I want to do is I want to take away some permissions. That's not a very coachy thing to do, but I want to take away some permission from you, because, having made the leap to be an entrepreneur and having certified yourself as a coach, you deserve to have a good business now. So here's what I want to take away. I want to take away the permission for you to wait and see what your niche looks like. Because so many entrepreneurs, I think the fantasy is that the heavens are going to open and a big voice is going to come down and say, child, this is the niche you should pick. And the bad news is it ain't happening. It's not going to happen, okay? So the best you can do is to do the best you can with what you can see today. Don't wait for it to become clear. It doesn't become clear. What happens is time passes, your confidence goes down, and your chances of launching actually go down. So even if you pick a totally bad niche, I promise you the universe and everything around you will conspire to show you that it's not working, and you'll figure it out. So doing nothing is not an option. Waiting is not an option. You've got to pick the best you can with what you have today. And even if you've got 2 niches, we've got ways and means of trying to resolve 2 or 3 good niches that you can't choose between. But pick the thing that looks best, go with it. If it doesn't work, you're not stuck in cement for life. You change it. But trying to get 3 things going at the same time, you're not giving enough energy to any one of them to actually know whether it's going to work or not. So I'm taking away the permission to sit there dawdling about it. Today's the day I hope you make a decision. And if you need to sit down and put all your options up and try and figure out which is the best one, do it. But make a decision. Go with the best you can see today, and then let's go. But let's talk about the who. So I love coaches, actually. Let me tell you what the average coach, if you talk about, so who's your ideal client? This is what I normally hear. Well, she's a woman between 35 and 50, and she's in transition, and she's spiritually open, and she loves me, and she's got loads of money. And I just want to tell you that that might be a nice wish list, and I probably would like clients like that too, to be honest. it's not going to help you at all in your clarity, okay? So ideal clients are people where you have an ideal client when you can walk into a room at a distance and say, you. I've been actually able to do that for years. I've got that clear about who my ideal clients are. But the big thing is that I want for you to have is a name that you can call them. I want you to be able to say, and the classic name is something that they will have a strong emotional identity with. Like if I say and Kathy, I don't even know this about you, but do you have children?
Yes.
So if I say to you, Kathy's never had children, you'd probably, if I were introducing you to someone, you'd probably argue with me, right? You'd probably say, nonsense, I got a couple of kids. But there's an enormously strong emotional identity to kids. So if I say I'm calling mothers, every mother in the room knows I'm talking to them. And that's kind of the sort of emotional identity of the name you want for your audience. So you really want to have a name that they recognize as them. And let me show you, I'm going to switch to a little spreadsheet, a little tool that we give our clients here. But it's called the emotional identity. And these are just ways of knowing that your name is specific enough. And I just want to show you what I mean. If I say I work with fathers, or I work with mothers, or I work with singles, or I work with females. Females is too broad on its own. You actually want to combine it with another label. If I work with Christians, if I work with Mormons, if I work with wine lovers, can you see that the wine lovers in the room or the Mormons in the room would know I was talking to them because it has an emotional identity around the name. But I want for every one of you to be able to call your clients with a name. My audience is solopreneurs. If you're a solopreneur, you know it, okay? If your audience is doctors, if it's female doctors, and that's what you can do with the genders, you can be more specific. I work with female doctors or female entrepreneurs or high-performance bikers, whatever it is. But it's not the vague age, sex, spiritual leaning, political leaning, etc. It's a name that they will recognize. So that's what I mean when I say that I want you to find a name that your audience knows and is clear about. So let me zoom that back to page level. And I'm going to move over to the template now. So, and my template is filled out. So you're welcome to fill it out the way mine is. And let me zoom in so you can actually see it. So what we're going to work through is the hottest magnets. And marketing magnet number 1 is a name that you'll call your audience that they actually know and love. So mothers, moms of toddlers, teens, whatever it may be. But so filling out the template, sentence 1 says, I am clear and committed about who I serve. The name they recognize is, and then I want you to put in marketing magnet number 1. So insert your own egoic label. I'm going to give you a couple of seconds to think about that. Okay, I hope you've got something. If you're struggling, it just tells you that your next business step is actually your niche. So, and if your niche isn't right, guys, doesn't matter what selling activities you're doing, they're not going to work well because you're going to be too vague and diffuse for people to actually recognize you and do great with you. So niching is really step number 1 in a business because nothing else works until you kind of get this. So just if you can't come up with answers to what I'm doing today, don't be sad about it. Just know that you've really got to sit down and get some clarity around who it is that you want to serve and the names that they like. So the next sentence is, these are the 5 best marketing magnets that will help me create a deep 6-figure business. So fill that in. So guys, and I should actually just tell you, let me get back to my presentation here momentarily. If you would like, okay, hang on, let me get there. So the big thing about calling your clients a name is that they will find you. It's literally like laying out a little red carpet between yourself and them. So, next time you go to a networking meeting and you see people doing their elevator speeches or standing up and doing commercials, look and see how few of them ever mention, I help moms, I help teachers. But this is step number 1 in being able to call your clients to you. So step number 1 is you call them. Give them a name they recognize. Step number 2 is you speak their language. You're easily able to articulate their biggest problems. So we're going to go there now. But this name is super important, so don't neglect it. And what I did actually want to tell you guys is the little handout I was looking at, the filled out template and the egoic label cheat sheet. If you would like it, plus a copy of our slides, please go ahead and just text the words hot niche to 44222. So what that means is on your phone, the 2 on your text is 44222, and you just put in the message is capitalized hot niche, all one word, no spaces, and we will actually send you all of this. The other thing I actually wanted to send you was a little workbook for those of you that are still struggling with your niche. Let me show you what it looks like. This is just a little gift from me, but it's a little 23-page workbook. It's a PDF file that you can edit because a niche it's never done right. You're constantly refining your niche in your business. But it helps you go through why you have to have one. It really helps you feel authentic in your offerings, helps you get grounded in what your plus factors. What do you have that nobody else has? Helps you choose your target market, goes through the 5 buy triggers that everybody wants, helps you declare your niche. But also, if you're stuck, and I think this is what's important, it helps you just figure out, what are the pros and cons of every niche. It gives you help if you're still stuck, but it helps you go deep down in your targets. So it's actually a really good little book, and the output of it is really strong messaging. So I'm going to try and do that with you while we're on the call today, but if we don't quite get there, that's just another little gift that I wanted to give you as well. And let me go ahead and close that down. It's a neat little book, hey, Kathy?
Yeah, so somebody's asking if you can email the handouts, and then they were asking for a repeat on the information. So what I'm going to do is post that in the question panel to everyone.
Okay. We will email the handouts to everybody, but the way that we can get there, if they text hot niche to 44222, what their cell phone will do is come back and ask for the email address, and we'll send it to them right after the call today.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you.
Good. No, you're welcome. I just wanted to do something nice for your crowd here. So, guys, we've looked at the marketing magnet number 1, which is who is your ideal client. What we're going to move to now is we're actually going to move to the problems. And the problems can be problems, okay? Here's what happens when you deeply understand your target market's problems. They're like, ooh, this girl's smart. I really like her. I resonate with her. She gets me. And it's interesting because you get so much more kudos for almost understanding their problems than even being able to give them the solution. So it's really important that you understand the problems that your clients have. And these really are big problems. One of the things I see coaches do, and I hope I'm not being too outspoken here, but I honestly feel like people pay me the big bucks as a business coach to tell the truth. A lot of coaches pick coaching businesses that solve little teensy problems. And when you're only solving little teensy problems, people aren't that motivated to pull out their checkbook and pay you. Honestly, so it's building in a struggle factor into your business that you probably don't want. So I always say, especially to coaches, but many new entrepreneurs, make sure that this is a problem the market would like to have fixed, that you can specialize in. So the bigger the problem, the more likely they are to pay to get it fixed. And when you talk about your problems, I really want you to be able to talk about them not in expert speak, because let's assume that you are let's assume you're a nutritionist. You might say that they have leaky gut syndrome, and they have candida, and they have nutritional deficiencies. And you would probably be right because you're the expert, okay? But here's the problem, is most of your clients don't know what leaky gut is. They would prefer to have never heard of candida, and they probably are in denial about the deficiency, so they don't know they have those problems. So when you talk about their problems in that way, it's just going, phew. It's like you're standing on the top of the mountain with all your expert knowledge speaking Mountainese, and you're speaking to the villagers down at the bottom that are speaking something, they're speaking Clientese. It's a whole different language. So you really want to go down to not being the expert and speaking in exactly the same words and language that your clients will describe their problems. And the best ways that I've had of trying to do this, and I've done this for so many entrepreneurs now, I'm pretty good at this, is how do you get problems to a point where they're guttural and they're basic and they're emotional? Because, we buy on an emotional response. So you've got to really hit bedrock inside somebody's emotions with what their problems are. Is I imagine them waking up at 2 a.m. in the morning and thinking about what their problems might be. And if you're a nutritionist and you help people lose weight, somebody's not going to wake up at 2 a.m. in the morning and say, oh man, I have leaky gut syndrome. I mean, they're just going to say, man, I have got to lose this weight. I feel gross, or something like that. So that's actually the sort of language you want to use. Stop feeling gross. Finally lose the weight. So often describing these things, and in fact those are actually solutions. The problems are like, I'm so fat. So it's really it's a very guttural emotional response, the sort of problems that most people are going to pay to get fixed. So I want you to think about the problems of how they would think about them in the middle of the night, or maybe how they would say them to a girlfriend at lunch, man, I just can't spend another day living with this guy. He's driving me crazy, something like that. So that's really the sort of language you want your problems into. And what I want to warn you about is stay away from being the expert. But I want you to spend a little bit of time right now going back to your template, and we're going to come up with 3 major problems that your clients experience. So write them down, and then I'm going to ask you to look at them again and try and get all your expert speak out of it, and try and get it down into client speak, how they would describe their problems, because that way they recognize them when you talk about them. So let me go back to the template. And you're going to insert problem number 1, problem number 2, and problem number 3 for numbers 2, 3, and 4. I'll give you a little bit of time. Kathy, would this be a good moment to see if there are any questions?
Looking at the question panel, I think what you've got everybody doing, Tommi, is working on this.
Okay, good.
Let's see. I do have people that want an example other than in the health area. So do you want to draw on a business example?
Yeah, so I'll give you a business and a non-business example. So I'm a business coach. I'm very familiar with my entrepreneurial market. I call my market solo-preneurs. So that's the name I call them that they recognize. And their biggest problems by far, the first 2 are always the same. It's making enough money and finding enough clients. And the third one can vary a little bit, but it's usually overwhelm or isolation. It's a state of mind thing. They either feel lonely and isolated, or they feel overwhelmed, or they feel scattered. So those would be the top 3 problems for my markets.
Okay. And I've got somebody that said, I'm going to pull this out because it's a little bit longer, aren't being recognized for promotion, feeling invisible to those who can promote them, need to negotiate a raise or a job offer. So there's an example from someone of what they're filling in.
Yeah, no, I think those are really good. I'd probably just take them a level down, because imagine this person waking up at 2 a.m. in the morning. They probably wouldn't say, man, I'm being passed over for promotion, unless there was an incident that just happened. They'd be like, man, I'm going nowhere in my job. It might be a little bit more basic than that. And I try and get that language. And if you're not sure of the language, go and ask your ideal clients, what's your biggest problem at work? And listen very carefully to the answers, because it really is some of your best intellectual capital that you'll find is really listening to the languaging that they will use. But that was pretty good. I mean, that would work.
Awesome. Another example here is somebody said, how do I earn more money so I can provide for my family?
Yes, that would be, how can I make more money? 2 a.m. they'd probably not have the detail about providing for the family. It's like, I've got to earn more. So it's just a very basic sort of emotional plea that
And let
comes
me
out
give
in these
you one
problems.
more here, Tommi, because I think this will be a good one to address for everyone.
Yeah.
So I've got somebody that said 3 words: overwhelm, stress,
Yes.
balance. What's your advice in terms of
Yes.
those being the problems?
I'm just going to be perfectly bluntly honest. We haven't seen a lot of, and who's the target market on that one, if I could know?
Yeah, so Nancy, you filled that in. She said women leaders.
Uh, yes. So I think that I would probably pass that one. You know, I think if it's overwhelm and stress, I've seen people try and market it to moms with toddlers. I haven't seen a lot of success. But I think if you're marketing a solution to overwhelm and lack of balance to corporate gals, that tends to be a pervasive problem, and many of them have the means to pay for that. So I would pass that, yes.
Okay, awesome. Thanks,
Good one.
Tommi.
Okay. All right. So I'm glad we're getting some good examples here. So let me go back to the presentation now, and we are going to go to, so we've got a name for them. We understand their problems, and we're actually going to talk now about results. And these are results that your clients will enjoy, and I want you will enjoy after they've worked with you. So what I want you to imagine now is that you've got an ideal client. They've been amazing. They've come in. You've loved working together. They've had an incredible result. And now you're gone. It's the result after having worked with you that you're trying to clue into. So what most coaches do wrong here is they tell you, I'm going to use EFT and neurolinguistics, and I'm going to use laser coaching techniques. And it's like the client doesn't care. Okay, they don't care what your techniques are. They don't care how you're going to do it. They don't care if you're going to use horses or whatever you're going to do. The thing that they're buying from you is what happens afterwards. You know, so for the woman, we just spoke with a woman overwhelmed and getting part of a promotion, you know, fall in love with your job again. You know, look forward to Monday mornings. Those are the sort of results you might have after having worked with you. It's not your how are you going to do this with them. So that's like one of the big errors we find with people describing what they do. Most people stand up and describe their how, and it's the one thing the client really couldn't care about. So it's not very client attractive speaking or messaging. So I want you to think about now, what's the best result that they receive? And you think of particularly about the most dramatic results. You know, so when I was a newer business coach, the first time I got a client to add $100,000 in 1 year. Now that was a dramatic result, and I can do it a whole lot more reliably now. But in those days, that was a big deal for me. And but I could use that. I could say I help solopreneurs add as much as $100,000 a year to their business. So it's often just really good to know what does a really good result look like for you. And I want you to really search for the deeper benefits because, you know, like if you're working with CEOs, people sometimes come up with a result like they'll say, be more productive, have better time management. But and I mean, yeah, that's okay, but it's like, why is that important? So, and the deeper benefit of better time management is so that you can get home and put your kids to bed, or so that you have time to golf on Sundays, or so that you actually have, you know, so that's what I mean by the deeper benefit. Go to the thing that people really want. And at the end of the day, people are all the same, you know, we want the same things. We want good lives, we want love, we want to matter, we want to be seen. That's true of every human being on earth. So whatever they're trying to get you, they're probably trying to get one of those things. So go there. So let me give you a little, and this is marketing magnet number 5. So let me give you a little bit of time to think about what's the biggest result. You can put a couple down, but really find the most dramatic result that somebody will get after having been through your coaching. So let me go back to the little sheet here. So on number 5, my number 1 result is, and then insert your best result.
So I've got somebody asking, is that number one result from a list or from a particular client?
From a particular client. So I would want a client that you've worked with and got good results for. This is really often the whole point of your business. So this is a transformation you promise to people. So if your number one result is, you lose 20 pounds by summer, or have a natural childbirth, or, whatever it is, just, that's the number one result. It's the best result that people will get from working with you. And, if you have clients, then I would make this a real result. If you haven't had clients yet, guys, it's obviously difficult to be, claiming what you do and what you don't, because especially the coaching industry, which I love about them, would like to stay in integrity. I wish all entrepreneurs would. But I think you're okay taking what is a normal result in your industry up until the time when you actually have your own results to talk about. I think that's permissible in your first year of business.
And then I've got another question related to this. How would you state something more than weight loss and health, like a transformation, a bullet point list, a before and after pick, a referral?
Well, I think, promising weight loss it's okay, but it's really, if you go and have a look at what's working, go and pick up any magazine cover anywhere and you'll see this. And these are results that actually get attention. They do a lot of research for them. But it's making them as concrete as possible. So, weight loss is good, but, 10 pounds before summer is better. So the more you can quantify things or make them real, the more this messaging is really going to work. And I know what a lot of coaches have said to me in the past is, but I can't guarantee this for everybody. And of course you can't. It's like joining the gym and expecting them to guarantee that you walk out with washboard abs. I mean, you've got to do your part. So your clients have to do their part. But I think if you don't say what the best result of working with you is, you deny people the option or the ability to know what's capable with you. So that's why I love taking the best results your clients have had. So for the lady who's doing weight loss, if you take the best result you've given somebody or that you've given for yourself and you're able to quantify it, that's a really good idea. These work best when they're quantified or made as specific as possible, just because you're helping your clients see what's possible. You're not actually, the biggest danger to any sort of 30-second elevator speech or messaging or business really is that you're too vague for people to know how desirable you are or what it is that you do. So I hope that helps. Okay. So guys, what I want you to realize now is with these 5 marketing magnets, you actually have pretty much every single piece of marketing copy you'll ever need in your whole business. Okay, so you've got the name they recognize, your who. You've got 3 major problems that really give them heartburn enough that they're actually going to pay you. And you've got a really good result that you get them. And in the little workbook we're going to send you, it's nice for you to have lots of results, but I think 1 or 2 really big ones is good to have for your messaging. So I'm going to show you how to wrap this into really good messaging right now so that you'll know what to say when you're out networking and talking to people. But what I want you to see is the same information, the who, the problems, and the results. That's going to be what you put on your website. Okay, every piece of copy you write from here on out, whether it's a marketing brochure, a website, a talk that you're doing from stage, is always going to be around these points. So whenever I put any talk together from stage, I'm always addressing it to solopreneurs. I'm always talking about their top 3 problems. And on problem number 1, which is they can't find clients. Well, today I'm talking about niching, which is step number 1. But I could be talking about step number 2 or step number 3 or step number 4, but I'm always talking about the problem of getting clients, right? So, so it becomes a basis for any time you're on stage. And by the way, it becomes a basis for your offerings. When you're putting together your signature systems and you're making your offerings, you're always going to come back to solving the major problems of why people signed up to work with you. So that's why this really is, these 5 marketing magnets are critical and step 1 for getting a big business off the ground, because everything's going to come back to this. And the more clear you get on this, the better. And it's interesting because a niche is never done. You always think, well, I get this done. And for many coaches, it's a bit like having a baby. It can take 9 months to finally get to a point where they're happy to go forward. And I'm not putting 9 months on you. I want you guys to decide today. But it sometimes changes a lot in the first year, and that's fine. I mean, that's normal. But when I look back over my business, I started working with all businesswomen, entrepreneurs in corporate. Then I niched down to entrepreneurs. Then I got really clear that it was just solopreneurs. And in my last 2 years, I only work with a very specific form of solopreneur, i.e. a business coach. So I'm now a business coach to business coaches. So I've watched my niche get narrower and narrower and narrower over the years. And that's actually normal in a healthy, growing, vibrant business. So, and as I've done that, the problems have become clearer and clearer, what it is that I'm actually fixing. So it's just really interesting. But I want you to see that this isn't just something we're doing for your elevator speech and you can forget about it once you've got your elevator speech. These are critical to every aspect of your business going forward. So let me go back to the presentation. It's lucky I've got a background at IBM because I feel like I'm always trying to do the thing that you should never do live. And that's, they always say don't ever do live demos or tab between multiple pages or anything. And I'm going there. So, all right. So let's go forward because you've actually done some really good work, believe it or not. So the big timeless question that everybody says, so what do you do? Well, now we're going to put an answer to that. So, and an exciting answer, an answer that actually excites people when you answer. Because most people are like, well, I'm a coach and I've got a certification from such and such and I'm also neurolinguistics and I'm also this and I'm also that and I have a history in that and, oh, by the way, I sell scented candles on the side as well and Pampered Chef. And it's just like, come on. That is never going to attract a client to you in a million years, but it's what actually happens. So we're going to come up with something a whole lot more punchy than that. And I'm not saying anything bad about scented candles and Pampered Chef. It's just like, be one thing, okay? So, and be super clear about it and don't make it about you. Make it about their problems, who they are, and what results you can get for them. So let's have a look and see what that actually looks like. So here is my incredibly quick 30-second commercial script, which really is probably more like about 15 seconds. But here's the formula, and the formula is I help. And now you put the name, your egoic label of your ideal client. So I help moms, I help CEOs, I help solopreneurs, whatever it is. And then you put in your most dramatic result. So I might say I help solopreneurs to build 6-figure businesses really fast, or in as little as 8 months, or I help solopreneurs to add 100,000 to their bottom line this year. So all of those things would be really good messaging. And does it say everything I do? Not even close, okay? All I'm trying to do and all you're trying to do with this is you're trying to attract attention, okay? Because I'm sure you've all been in networking events. Oh my goodness. Kathy, you'll have been to this. Where you ask somebody, what do you do, and they don't stop for the next 25 minutes, and you've got their card, and you've got their brochures, and you've been in, and you're just kind of like, sorry you asked, and you're fantasizing about jumping out the nearest window. And so that sort of thing, don't be that coach, okay? You want to be the person who says a little tiny bit of rather intriguing information, and then let them pull it out. So, so the best conversation goes, I help solopreneurs to break 6 figures in record time. And they're like, well, how do you do that? And now I've got a conversation that they're actually listening to. So that's really what you're trying to get with this tiny little something here. So let me give you a few seconds to pull together your tiny little 30-second commercial. I'm going to go back to our piece of paper here. And I call this my magic message formula. So I help, insert egoic label, and put in your best result. And then you shut up until they say something. And if they don't say anything, they're not interested, so leave them alone. So let me give you a little bit of time to fill that out. So let me give you an example of this, and then I'm going to take it into what happens next, because you obviously want to be able to talk a little bit more if they're interested. We're going into a conversation. So let me find an example of a coach here. Let me pick something we haven't had. Let me pick, for example, a birthing coach. So it could be, I help pregnant women to have pain-free, chemical-free births or labor. So that could be the magic message formula. And if she's talking to a pregnant mom, the mom might say, wow, tell me about that. And then what we're going to do now is we're going to go into a little conversation. So let me go back to the little slide here. And it's going to look, well, you know how pregnant moms struggle with, and then you put in all your problems. You know how many pregnant moms would love to have chemical-free birth, but they're really scared of the pain. And they've never done this before. They don't know how to breathe. They don't know, they just don't know how to do it. And, the pregnant moms are nodding and thinking, yeah, that's me, because the problems are what they're worrying about already. And then you could say, well, I specialize in helping them go into it feeling confident, calm, and pain-free. And that's a really powerful conversation to have with an ideal client. And if they're not an ideal client, it probably won't resonate with them, and that's fine too. So here's another example here. Well, you know how so many solopreneurs struggle to get enough high-paying clients and to make real money. There's so much to learn. Well, I specialize in helping them build a strong pipeline of clients excited to do business with them. So you can see how this works, guys, and I promise you, if your messaging is good like this, you will see it in your ideal client's eyes. You will see if you're getting no reaction when you're talking, you're missing the boat and your languaging's not good, but you'll absolutely see the interest in their eyes as they're speaking. So let me go back to the formula and give you a couple of minutes to try and fill that in. And again, guys, if you are struggling, it just means you need a little bit more clarity. So it's common for early stage coaches to struggle with this. So don't feel like there's something the matter with you if you're struggling. It's just telling you that you need to be doing a little bit more niche work. So the first part is I help pregnant moms to have perfectly natural childbirth. I help insert egoic label to have best result. Then we're going into the conversation. Well, you know how pregnant moms often struggle with, and then just put your problems in, boom, boom, boom. Some, they struggle with having no idea how to have babies, and they desperately want to have pain-free births, or they're worried about the pain. Some even, want to learn how to breathe, so you can just put all your problems in. Well, I specialize in helping them, and then you put your best result. You can put the same result in, you can put a slightly different one. And a little bonus here is to say, even if they've had 2 babies before and failed, so put in the biggest objection, even if they don't think they've got the time, even if they don't think they've got the money, but whatever objection you keep hearing, you can just add that in. That's good psychology, by the way, because the brain immediately goes to, your amygdala will immediately put the big objection up. So it's nice to say, even if you have that objection, this is true. And then, to put a little bonus at the end here, if this is something you're interested in, please give me your card, phone me, meet me for coffee. So put the action in. So I hope you see how nicely that all threads together, guys. So, and so I think you can see that it really is just it's science. And for some of you, this has been a breakthrough, I know. And for some of you, you're probably still struggling a little bit. And that's okay too, okay? But getting your niche together and getting your messaging right does definitely take a little bit of time. But something I wanted to offer those of you who are interested is to have a look at our total client formula. This is what is necessary for a coach to get clients. They need a strong niche. They need messaging, which we've been playing with. They need to learn how to attract clients, enough lead gen, which is where so many of them really trip up. They need to know how to bond with them. These are enrollment conversations, and they need to know how to close with them. Then there's a couple of power moves for ramping up your business and scaling, and finally automating your business so that you're not working like crazy. So all of that is the path, and we've really been talking about niching and messaging today. But one thing I wanted to offer Kathy's crowd here was we've got something really neat coming up, and we're just a couple of weeks out. It's on Thursday, February the 16th. But I am personally spending a whole morning live on a webinar going through our client attraction secrets. So this is really perfectly designed for somebody who really hasn't had 20 clients yet. It will really go through some of the basics Well, actually, it'll probably be good even if you have that 20 clients. Depends how fast you're getting them, I guess. But if you want more clients, we're really going to go into some of the mistakes people make around lead gen. We're really going to help you figure out what method should you be using, how should you be discussing and closing with the clients. And so it's a really, and we're just doing it at $97. So it's a really intensely valuable morning. And you can go and sign up at www.clientattractionsecretslive. That's secrets with an S, live. And let me just take you over to that page and show you what it looks like. But you'll find this page and you can scroll down and see everything that we're actually going to do on the day. But basically it's my attract, bond, close method of getting clients, and every entrepreneur has to learn this at least once in their life. So I think for the price point we're offering it at, it's a pretty amazing way to spend a morning. I'd love to be able to work a little bit more closely and have a little bit more time. It's 4 hours on Feb 16th. So I hope you can be there. That's clientattractionsecretslive.com, and we would love to be able to see you there. That would be super fun. So, and the other thing I wanted to offer, this is a little gift for Kathy, but we're going to give a completely free product to the first 5 people who sign up. I have an entrepreneurial boot camp which goes deeply into niching, building your signature system, and structuring your business for 6 figures. And you can buy this on my website for $349, but we're actually gifting the online version to the first 5 people that sign up. So I hope that works. clientattractionsecretslive.com, and it'd be lovely to see you there. So I think at this point, I promised you 2 juicy things at the end of our time together. So let me tell you 2 little juicy things that I think every coach needs to know. Number 1, the $1 million niche question, and here it is. You want to ask yourself, where can you find your clients quickly, easily, and inexpensively? Where can you find your clients quickly, easily, and inexpensively? And guys, if you can't answer this question, it's a moment to pause, because you're probably building in a heck of a lot of struggle into your business. So, you know, if you can't find them, then stop and wait until you can answer this question before you start sinking time and money and effort into building your business. This is kind of a deal breaker. And the next one I wanted to give you is a huge client attraction shift, which is very relevant to the work we've been doing today. And I think this is the entrepreneurial shift that most people have to make as new entrepreneurs to become client attractive. And it really is just getting over yourself. It isn't about you. It isn't about you. It isn't about what you do. It's all about your client and what their problems are and what they're doing and how you can help them get there. So it's almost like you energetically take a big sort of pool of energy and light and take it off you and you put it on your client. And I've watched clients in our programs actually make this transition. You instantly become more client attractive. So I wanted to leave you with that today. I think that I am going to go back to Kathy. So let me see if we can do that.
Awesome. And while you're doing that, a couple of things did come in. So earlier when you were going through your worksheet, a question came in, what about creative niche areas like artists or musicians? And they wanted examples there. And then more recently, the question, can you clarify that even if component of the worksheet?
Yes. Sure, okay.
And then in response to the other person asking for the URL, when Tommi is done today, I'm going to email all of you a link to the recording on YouTube, and I'll include the URL there. So that takes care of that one. Tommi, let me give you those other 2 questions.
Okay. All right. So the first one was about the creatives. You know, it's a good niche because creatives tend to, I think that, you know, any niche that has a lot of problems makes for good coaching. So I don't know exactly what you want to coach with them, but, you know, you could call them the name. I think creatives, they often know who they are. But if you were talking to a group of artists, I would say artists. And if you're talking to musicians, I'd say musicians. But you could clarify creatives, artists, musicians, you know. So I think that's a fine niche. You just want to get very specific on what their problems are. And if it's business coaching, I can tell you that they do have a lot of business problems. They tend to dread getting clients. They tend to love designing and doing art, a little bit like coaches in some ways. but they aren't usually very smart at marketing. So I think that's fine. But as with any niche, just make sure you know what problems you're fixing for them. And then the second question was on the template, even if. This is really just to help you handle objections. So if I say to people, I'm a business coach and I can help you make your business go great, or make 6 figures or whatever, most probably what comes up in most people's mind is like, oh, I probably can't afford her, or man, I've had a coach before and it didn't work. So I might say something like, whatever objection I'm hearing the biggest objection I hear is, I can't afford this. So I might say, even if you think you can't afford this. So it's simple. It's actually just a little bit of psychology. But it would at least say to them, well, it's probably worth talking to her. And if she can't afford it, there's many things I can do. We can give her one of our lower-end programs. We can spread her payments out. There's all sorts of things that we can do if that's her worry. Or we could probably try and show her how few people actually ever get their business up off the ground without some investments like that. But that's what I mean by putting in your biggest objection. So so the big objections that everybody has is time and money. I haven't got time for this. So you might say, even if you don't think you've got the time, especially if you're marketing to sort of overwhelmed, busy corporate gals that don't have time to start out with. So it's just really to help them not see all the objections before they even talk to you. So Kathy, was there anything else I needed to cover?
Let's see. So, by the way, I'm getting a ton of people are saying thank you, and that they really, really love this. Great way to start, etc. So let's see. Any suggestions? Sorry, it's scrolling by really fast. I gotta keep up with all the comments that are coming in. So let me find that. I lost that for a second. So how would you? No, sorry. My apologies, Tommy. A ton of
No
messages
worries. I know what it's like when you've got a lot
in.
of things coming in on the question panel.
Yeah,
it's a bit hard to handle.
So somebody said, any suggestion for transition from full-time work to self-employed coaching? And this is somebody that's working in mental health.
Mm-hmm. So, I do. I have a lot to say about this, by the way. So I'm really glad you asked the question. So good question. A lot of coaches are in the same. So I'm just going to be perfectly blunt with you here, because I've just coached enough entrepreneurs to be pretty sure of this. I have never seen a coach build a 6-figure business while they were still employed fully, because there simply isn't enough time to do the marketing work that you're going to have to do while you have a full-time job. But that doesn't mean to say that I think you should just rip the cord and take a big, dangerous jump, because none of us, I'm pretty risk-averse, quite honestly. So my best advice to you would be this. It would be try and start it on the side as best as you can. And as soon as you get enough clients that you can see daylight, in other words, you're pretty sure that you've got a niche that people are willing and prepared to pay for. And I would prefer any entrepreneur before they go into business to have at least 8 months of cushion, financial cushion, because people don't want to tell you this, but I'll tell you this as an entrepreneurial coach. Most entrepreneurs, if they do everything right, there's like a hockey stick. They're going to struggle like crazy the first 4 months, 5, 6 months. They're going to start seeing things come right. But most people don't really start making decent money until sort of the 6 to 8 month mark. And many entrepreneurs that are trying to build big businesses don't really pull a big 6-figure salary out for until year 2 or year 3, even though they might be making a couple of $100,000. They're often reinvesting in their own growth. So I always say to people, make sure you've got an 8-month cushion and you can survive while you get out there and you build the marketing pipeline. And you've only got to build it once, guys. That's a good thing. But it does take time and it does take effort, and people aren't honest about this. So I feel like there's a lot of entrepreneurs who feel like they're failing because they don't have a full practice and 15,000 a month incomes by month 3. That's really rare. Most people don't do that. I sure as heck didn't. I was pretty proud of my $10,000 salary at the end of month 9. And I'd been an entrepreneur before. It wasn't my first rodeo, to be honest. So, now today my business is incredibly successful, but it's really just, having the commitment to do it and keep going. So if you have the financial cushion and you can see that you're starting to land clients well, what I would tell your caller, Kathy, at that point, take a big, brave jump, put on your big girl pants and go. but get out of the job so you've got time to go and actually do the marketing. Honest answer.
Awesome. No, that's great. That's great. You've got somebody here that says, okay, I signed up for that thing. How will I know if I'm one of those first 5?
You'll get an email probably within the hour. So, yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Let's see. You've got, and again, more comments on thank you.
Thank you, by the way. I look forward to working with you. So.
Awesome. I'll share some of these comments, and if you have other questions, everyone, let me know if I missed it. We've got people saying, let's see, wow, what an awesome and informative webinar. I appreciated her language, like using juicy ending, made me smile. Thank you so much for this amazing hour. Wonderful presentation. That was really awesome, very practical and helpful. Great. Thank you so much for answering my question. Wise advice. Thank you for an excellent session, reaffirming and resetting for the new year. Okay, here's another question. It said, would you charge according to the situation or how much time you will have invested?
Well, that's an interesting question. I have a whole module here called Charging What You're Worth that I just did with our masterminders yesterday. I would do neither of the above. Yep. Okay. I feel like really, let me tell you first of all, this is how most coaches charge. They charge based on their self-esteem. Please don't do that. I think that your charging needs to be a percentage of the value that you provide. So example, let's say if I know how to add 100,000 to your business this year, I feel quite justified in taking 10% of that. I think it's, that's fair. I think the problem comes in is and that's value-based pricing, which is really what you want to do. So ideally, you can quantify the financial value to somebody and take a percentage of it. But if you can't, and your business is intangible, let's say you're a marriage coach and you're helping people have happier marriages, it's intangible, right? I think you should still try and quantify that as much as you possibly can and take a value. But I will tell you for free, it is almost impossible for a coach to have a 6-figure income if your services aren't at least over $1,000 and preferably over $3,000 a sale. Now, that could be bundling a few coaching sessions together. It could be bundling retreats and packages and all sorts of things. And I go through a bit of that in the free boot camp that will give the first 5 callers. But you definitely want to get up at that price point. I tried very hard for a long time to do what my coaching school taught me to do, which was to charge, $350 a month to somebody, and I never figured out how to make that work. I feel like you've got to work at a much higher price point than that to actually end up with a decent income.
Yeah. Well, and ultimately it shows people the value of, because you're asking that price point and they're going, oh, okay, it must be worth it. So
exactly, actually. Funny enough, our best clients are the ones that come in at our top levels and spend a fortune with us. And interestingly enough, they show up differently. We do the same thing, but they show up much more committed and much more. So I always feel like, undercharging robs people of their experience. So you definitely don't want to undercharge. But I'm not big on overcharging either, to be honest. I think you really want a fair price.
Awesome. Excellent. Thank you. Fabulous job. Great presentation. I think you've answered all the questions. I am, again, getting more and more thank yous in here, so appreciate
Well, thank you, everybody. It's been lovely, too. I told you, I have a big heart for coaches. I love you guys, and grateful to Kathy for giving us all this chance. So thank you so much, Kathy.
Oh, thank you, Tommi. Great information.
All right.
What I'm going to do is close this out. I'll email everyone with all of the information you're asking for here and the link to the recording on YouTube. And Tommi, I'll copy you on it so that everyone sees your email. They will all be blind copied.
All right. Thank you very much. I appreciate that, guys.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Kathy. Thanks for having me here. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.